16-year-old boys see feminism as women just protesting and complaining for no reason, when everything is good in this world. But shockingly, it's not. And this is where the problem lays. This quote was said by 19-year-old Zoe Salesi, a student in London. But it resonates with me here in the UAE, with girls in India, in the USA, and all over the world. Advocating for our rights is complaining, according to today's youth, the future of our world. And if these are the minds of the youths of today, what kind of world will we grow up to work in and live in? What kind of world will we pass down? The same world that we girls live in today? Hi, I'm Mysha, and I'll tell you why we need girl power across the board. I once was in the library, talking to one of the boys in my class. Okay, well, arguing, if I'm being honest. I'd said something about us not being so equal while working at the desks, and he took offense, retaliating sharply with, "Are you a feminist?" It was as though he was asking me if I was ill. I said I was, and all he said was, "Figures." Figures. Feminism doesn't just call for women's rights, but for the right for all genders to have equal rights and opportunities, both boys and girls, not placing one over the other, but trying to maintain an equal balance between the two. And this has been going on for as long as since the 1900s. And yet we end up hearing that feminism isn't relevant. But really, how much truth is in that statement? To all the students in the audience tonight, can I get a show of hands if you've ever heard a teacher ask for strong boys to carry the chairs? Yeah, thank you. Because when I was 6 years old, I believed that I could carry two easily, which I still can do. And yet, whenever my hand was up, I was never picked, for the sole reason that I was a girl. We have both male and female heavyweight champions, do we not? So why is it that the boys are always asked to do it? And it's funny, because the girls carry the academic weight. In group projects, through conversations with my friends and experiences of my own, I've come to find that 9 out of 10 of them are done with 10% of work from the boys and 90% from the girls. But you don't see that when we present in front of the class, because we stand shoulder to shoulder, although the girls have done more than twice the work for half the recognition. And I was talking to a teacher about this after one such group project. And what she said really stuck with me. Today, in most workplaces, women can be seen picking up slack for men. The same slack they've been picking up since they were little girls in group projects. Isn't that scary? To think that the same boys who know the girls will overcompensate will grow up into men who get paid more and are more likely to get leadership positions. And it's not like school makes it any easier, pitting the girls against the boys from young ages, as young as maybe even 5. I mean, for example, how many of you have ever played boys versus girls dodgeball at school? Out of all the girls here, how many of you have played football in school without being on the team? Out of all the boys here, who's played rounders? Yes, rounders. A knockoff version of baseball, if you will. Doesn't that seem odd that the boys end up playing the sports we all know, basketball and football and cricket, and the girls get some irrelevant sport to fill the gap. I mean, how many of you know a professional rounders player? See, that's what I thought. Because the worlds that occupy the minds of boys and girls have been extremely polarized. Think of like a Venn diagram, okay? Without any intersection. Two separate circles. And to think, this wasn't the case when we were 7. Because I remember 2nd grade. The entire class was a giant group of friends who played together. Because that's all we knew. But now, the media consumed by boys and girls is vastly different, as I'm sure you've noticed. Girls find their social medias flooded with beauty content, get ready with me's, skincare routines, and the occasional dash or sprinkle of female empowerment. And the boys see their social medias filled with, I don't know, football edits, gym videos, and the worst, well, I'll put it this way. Imagine your 13-year-old son is in a coffee shop, talking to a man who thinks that rape victims should bear responsibility for attacks, that women are a man's property, and that real men don't cry. A man who believes that there is no such thing as an independent woman and has openly admitted to being a misogynist and taking pride in it. His reasoning? I'm a realist, and when you're a realist, you're a sexist. There's no way you can be rooted in reality and not be sexist. Well, wouldn't you intervene, not wanting your child's mind to be molded that way? Well, millions of boys as young as 13 years old are consuming this kind of content on social media, from TikTok to YouTube to Instagram, and looking up to Andrew Tate, the man behind it all. His videos, which have been watched at no less than 11.6 billion times, emphasize on the idea of hanging with the bros, making money, and putting women down in almost every aspect. The way of life for a real man. This is what 80% of teenage boys walk into a classroom with. And that, right there, is a problem. These boys share a classroom with girls who need to be in an environment where they feel safe, valued, and above all, equal. And I've come to learn, over the years, that school isn't exactly that place. From as young as 8, when wanting to lead group projects was seen as bossy. And later, at 12, when I spoke up against misbehavior. The teacher brushed it off, saying, "Oh, boys will be boys." How many of you have heard that before? That did not sit well with 12-year-old me. And honestly, it still doesn't sit right today at 17. So just because they're boys, they have the right to dump the group project on the girls and act the way they do, to crush the self-esteem of their classmates right at a time they need it to be boosted. Because see, when these two ideals clash, when school tends to favor the more patriarchal elements of society, there is an imbalance of power. If you pay the same fees for your son and for your daughter to go to the same school, don't you expect the both of them to be treated equally? But the misogyny from the content that's been watched filters into the room. Like a pungent odor not even the strongest perfume can mask the smell of. But what if all it took was calling on both boys and girls in class? Letting the girls try their best at football for a change, and maybe even making the boys play rounders, irrelevant to sport as it seems to me. Making sure that the students picked to solve equations on the board vary between both. The only way I believe that cooperation will be found is if we form a common ground, delegating tasks to groups to ensure equal cooperation, giving both genders equal opportunities to lead, to contribute, and to inspire. And lastly, ensure to instill values of equality, fairness, and compassion into students today so that we can be one step closer to an equal tomorrow. Thank you.